Welcome everybody. Today we got whole cod river salmon. We'll wait for some people to join, but yeah, just by looking at this, pretty cool fish. We'll wait for some people to join, and we'll get started really quickly. So, cod river salmon is known for its more reddish, really dark orange, vibrant color, which is usually standard in wild caught fish, but especially in cod river salmon, it's way more distinct. I'm good, how are you? Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Yeah, we have this whole cod river salmon. So we're going to take one half off here, and then I'm going to go over to Instagram and take the other half there, just so we can get the best of both worlds. But they sent me two. I went ahead and filleted one for a video, and then we also got some steaks out of it too, some salmon steaks. So I'm super excited. We're going to fillet these, and yeah. So I guess we'll start on this side. Or we can start on this side, yeah. Do I watch Nick DiGiovanni? I do. Okay. So, descaler, not really necessary, but really, like, get all those scales against the grain. Any scales the fish could have. It's gonna fly everywhere, but I mean, instead of having, so you can also use the back end of a knife and just, like, kind of hack at the scales, which is also nice. There's also other methods, like the Japanese, I think it's called Zukibiki or something like that. Sorry if I'm completely mispronouncing it. Where they like kind of take the knife and kind of like go under the scales to cut it, which is also a phenomenal technique. Yeah. Favorite fillet knife. I actually don't have a brand, but if you go to Amazon, you can find something like this, which is nice. It also came with this and some fish tweezers and a few other things. But yeah. Alright, let's clean off the scales from the cutting board. Just set that off aside. Have a nice clean work surface. Get all those excess scales right off. Wipe them right off. Alright. So, first thing we're going to do, we're going to actually go, we're going to lift this collarbone right here. Also, I do want to say, I'm kind of nervous whenever I fillet one of these fish, because this is about a $300 fish, roughly. It's about $60 a pound from what I heard. This is a Copper River sockeye. So huge thank you to Copper River Salmon for sending me these amazing fish. So yeah, let's get started. Also, you might get some scales on your hands. Totally fine. Alright, so right behind the collar, you want to come as close to the collar as you can. And I'm going to kind of make a small cut there. Usually I would do this on both sides that I'm at it, but yeah, we'll actually go ahead and do that then. Yeah, and we'll just do this on both sides. And the fillet knife will cut through the little pin bones, not a problem. And then here we have the salmon collar. Super good. You can roast this, do a lot of things with this, and yeah. Right. You can also go ahead and trim these fins, but we're going to leave these on. But I would usually trim them off. But yeah, we're going to, okay. So what we want to do is we want to make one clean cut down here, trying to stay as close to the spine as possible. So if you see this line right here, this is the spine line, I guess. And you want to stay as close to that as you possibly can without Alright, let's go ahead and do this. I'm gonna make a clean cut. A really sharp knife really is your best friend here. So you really want to make sure your knife is nicely sharpened. You also want to be careful because the fish could be slippery sometimes. So yeah, you just really want to be careful with that. And it's a good thing to descale too, because it helps you really get a nice clean cut through. And I would always recommend using paper towels, just because they're very good at cleaning everything. So yeah, all right, let's keep cutting. Okay, now that we got somewhat close to the spine, we'll make some more cuts down. You're gonna hear a clicking noise, and you want to hear that clicking noise because that lets you know you're following the spine as close as you possibly can. You also want to be delicate here. Salmon meat is much more delicate. Um, yeah, so you definitely want to be careful there. Now I'm no Gordon Ramsay, so I'm not gonna try to speed my way through this. So we're definitely gonna take our time here, get as close to the bones as we possibly can. Um, Fillet this as nice as possible. And yeah, really want to see what you're doing underneath here. So as we can see, we're kind of following this spine line right here, these line of bones. You really want to stay as close to that as you possibly can. We're going to try to go underneath the pin bones of the belly. So, yeah. Hello. So yeah, this is the fillet knife that I use. A fillet knife is just like a long knife with a curved end, and it's really flexible, which is useful for helping you get under those pin bones. So, yeah. That way you're saving as much meat as possible. Okay, so we just got in through the tail. So we'll just do that. Okay. And now we're just slowly gonna start cutting our way through. Like so. Okay. And just slowly we're gonna follow those bones. As I said, we're going under the belly bones. So you really want to make sure you leave as much meat on that belly as possible. Okay. We're almost there. Now we're going to make these final cuts to really get us from here. Okay. Now we have a beautiful side of salmon. We're going to save this for our Instagram live. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, hop over on Instagram. As you can see, very little meat left on that belly. And what we can do is we can take a spoon and kind of scrape it off. So none of it goes to waste. But yeah, here we have one side. Just going to set this off aside for a quick second. Yeah, I'm going to teach you guys how to, now that you have this, how do you portion it into fillets? So, first thing I like to do is I like to remove the pin bones. So, here on the top, there's going to be a line of pin bones. I think it's usually about 20-ish pin bones. And there's also going to be pin bones up here. The ones up here, if you have a really good knife skill, very carefully we go under, trying not to scrape any of that meat. So we'll just do that all the way through. Very slowly, of course. We don't want to rush it and then hack at the beautiful salmon meat. Just because this is a more expensive fish, you really don't want to mess it up. But yeah. Again, this is Copper River sockeye salmon. So it's known for that very orange, almost reddish color. And here I can feel a lot of pin bones, so we'll just go under that, like so. Scraps, if you have a cat that likes salmon, definitely share some with your cat. But yeah, maybe a nice little belly section. So you want to run your finger, and you'll start to see that the pin bones actually spike up. And so I use these fish tweezers, which are really helpful tools. And then you can just pull it out like so. Okay, so we're gonna pull out the pin bones, and they usually have about 20 to 30 bones. This is when you're filleting it and you're kind of cutting through the bone, so it's perfectly normal that it has pin bones. And then we'll just feel with your finger. They're usually super easy to just take out. So I use these specialized fish tweezers. You can also use kitchen tweezers, which look like this. They're a little bit harder to grip with, but they'll still do the trick. I saw my friend Max, the meat guy, actually use a pair of scissors once because he didn't have any tweezers on him. I wouldn't recommend that, but if that's the only thing you have, yeah. But definitely, tweezers work great. These are like $5, $6 on Amazon. They're just fish tweezers. If you want to really get into filleting fish, yeah. And then sometimes you'll notice that some pin bones, as you get more into the center, are a little bit harder to pick out. And you also want to clean out your tweezers because you'll nick like a few scraps of meat, fish meat, so you really want to be careful. And then about halfway through, it'll stop almost. You'll kind of see it, and then you can also feel here, and then there's some there too in the really front. So it's a little bit more on the time-consuming side, but definitely worth it having freshly wild-caught salmon. Alright, I think that's pretty much all of it. There's few more here. You'll also notice when you cut it into fillets, you'll find some more pin bones. So if you're gonna serve it whole or bake it whole, yeah, you really want to watch out for that. Okay, we're gonna take this really nice flexible knife. Any sharp knife will work at this point. I'm just gonna trim the tail off. Okay, so it's the tail is when it starts to become relatively uneven. This piece super great, pan-seared. It's like the chef's treat right there. All right. Now I like to remove this. It's probably not optional, so I would highly recommend you just trim the fin off. And then I'll just make an incision, and then with the heavier knife, I'll just cut it off to save as much meat as possible. Just hold on to that. There. Also because it has like a small bone. Now this one, we went super close, and we went under the belly bones. So as you can see, the belly bones are here, so we don't have to pick out any of those pin bones. But if you were to cut through the belly bones and leave the bones intact, which is also a way to do it, then you could totally do that. But you would have to remove the bones, which is going underneath the bones just while it's already off the spine itself. So from here, we're going to get a nice fillet out of here. Nice, uniform, even fillet. So I like about 4 ounces, about 1.5 to 1 inch wide. And then I'll just kind of slice and then pull my knife back. And then cut again to make sure you evenly cut through that skin. There you have it. Some people cut off the belly area, which I have done with the other salmon, where I just cut the belly off of this whole side. But I think I'm going to leave the belly on for here. Worst things worse, I can definitely just trim the belly off and then sear it or use it for sashimi. But wild-caught fish will have parasites in it, which is totally normal. So I would recommend freezing if you're going to eat it raw, or making sure that you have a wild-caught fish that's safe for raw consumption. And yeah, so we got a fillet here. And then cut these into fillets. These are absolutely delicious. I would recommend cooking it skin side down, salt, pepper, and a little bit of dried herbs. I like oregano or parsley. And then I'll cook it 90% of the way skin side down. Flip it, cook it for a few seconds just to sear it. And then I'll add some butter to it. And I won't baste, I'll just swirl it around. And absolutely delicious. I think it's best served medium to medium rare, or more on the rare side, just because it's lean and it doesn't have as much fat content as a farm-raised fish would, but it's still absolutely amazing. And this comes from the Copper River in Alaska. So a huge thank you to Copper River Salmon for these amazing, amazing salmons. So yeah. And also, these collars, you can cut them in half. And I'll do this on my Instagram live. You cut it straight down here. And then you can grill them. I like charcoal grill. I did a video on this with the Osmo salts. Absolutely amazing. Just gives it a wonderful flavor. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful flavor. So, yeah. Righty. Let's see the comments. Yeah, the pin bones do, it's really smooth. You have to make sure you get a good grip on the actual bone itself, and that way when you just pull on it, it'll just slide right off. Also on the belly bone, sometimes you might miss a piece. I just got one here, a little bit of meat on there. Alright, so you really just want to feel, making sure there's no pin bones. Sometimes you'll find a pin bone or two, you can just yank it out. Gently with the tweezers. You don't want to. I've had a time where I was actually pulling a pin bone out, and it was really stuck onto this meat, and it kind of destroyed a part of my fillet. Not with this expensive salmon. It was one of my first times filleting a whole salmon. It was a least expensive salmon that you can get. When am I gonna do a collab with Nick? One day, if Nick is interested in doing a collab, definitely do a collab. Yeah, this is, I would consider this the best salmon that I've ever tasted, and possibly the best salmon in the world, just because, yeah, this is like the Wagyu of salmon, I would definitely say. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of species of salmon. This is the Copper River sockeye. So it's nearing the end of Copper River sockeye season, but Copper River coho season, which is another species of salmon, is just right around the corner. So if you guys are interested in picking up some Copper River salmons, I'm gonna do an Instagram live, and I'll make sure to tag Copper River salmon, so you guys can get more information. It's a little bit more of a premium fish, so it's a little more expensive, but it's higher in omega-3s, from what I read in the pamphlet. So super amazing fish, and I left one dry brining, or I guess curing it is for fish. So this is the freshly cut one, and I'm gonna get a cured one, which with just a little bit of salt on it, to really show you the difference. So, this one's been setting in the fridge. So this is set. This is not set. I don't know if you can tell the difference. Maybe put your brightness up, but this one's way darker in color. Just because you can salt it to do it like that, or you can just let it air dry for a little bit, and you can get that skin super crispy, which is really nice. So yeah. I'm gonna put this on back in the fridge just because we don't want it to go bad. And we're gonna do the same with some of this salmon. So we're just gonna put our nice fillets on here. And by the way, these tail pieces are absolutely amazing. It's like a chef's snack. Alright. So if you guys have any questions about this salmon, let me know. I just received it today, actually, so I'm super, super excited to try the salmon out. We've tried it before. Absolutely delicious. When did I start cooking? I started cooking like about 4 years ago. Yeah, almost 4 years ago. I'm good. How are you? Hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So yeah, definitely super amazing fish. These are caught in the Copper River over in Alaska, so beautiful fish. These are the sockeyes, so they're darker in color and they're a little bit smaller compared to the king salmons. I've seen king salmons go all the way up to 40 pounds sometimes, which is like way above average. I think the average is like 17 pounds ish. These are about 5 to 6 pounds, so pretty good fish to have. Like if you want to buy the entire fish for and share it with family, this is a good fish. You'll get about 12 fillets out of this, depending on how big you cut it. About 3 to 4 ounce portions. You'll get about 10 plus the 2 tail pieces, which is perfectly edible. It's just not as uniform in size, but so you'll get about 12 pieces out of there. And then you also have things like the collar. You have the bones that you can definitely scrape the meat off to make some. I know Nick DiGiovanni said you can make like some salmon rolls out of that. But yeah, assuming it's sushi grade or sashimi grade, so always make sure your fish is edible for raw consumption. But yeah, other than that, that's about it. So we went ahead and filleted one side. I actually think the first side is way easier to fillet than the back side. So the back side is a little bit more tricky because you have to go under the bones and you have to kind of push the knife up. And that's why they recommend having this flexible knife. Although I have filleted with a regular chef's knife before, so it's definitely possible. It's just easier with the flexible knife, so you can really get under those bones and really get all those belly bones out of there. Alright, so, yeah, have I ever tried any freshwater fish? I believe this salmon is freshwater fish. So yeah. Other than salmon, I don't think I have actually, unless I don't know if the orange trout comes from a river. I'm not completely sure, but I don't think I have. But I'm definitely always curious to try out new food. So if you guys have any fish recommendations, any food recommendations, let me know. Also, I posted some photos on my community tab here on YouTube. So if you guys would like to check those out, like, comment, share, it'll really mean a lot to me. Also, I'm trying to see if having the posting pictures here on YouTube of like just photo shoots that I have. I usually just post them on Instagram, but if you guys are interested, I can definitely post some more here on YouTube. But yeah. Alright, so we had this sockeye, Copper River sockeye salmon. We went ahead and filleted it nicely. So huge thank you to Copper River Salmon for sending me these. If you guys have any last minute questions, let me know and I'll just read them real quickly. I should try bluegill. Okay, I'll definitely check that out. Sounds interesting. But yeah, So I'm going to go ahead and end the live here. I'm going to